All right, so look, another person that needs to stay safe is this woman who got caught putting her hands on somebody else's kid. Now, look, I would feel some type of way if this happened without the mother being present, but a principal was caught spanking this 6-year-old student with the mother standing by doing nothing. And this video from Florida, of course, because this is where all the crazy happened, it sparked a very big conversation about, whether or not a parent should allow a public figure or a principal to spank their kid. Now, the student was spanked and verbally abused by the principal in front of her mother. Now, the mother is saying that her daughter was left with bruises and can't sleep at night and cries constantly and is seeking therapy. But girl, you sat there and let this happen to your child. Take a look.
You better be glad you're not my daughter, because I would spank your butt all the time for acting like that. And I wish you would try to call the police on me. I wouldn't give you money for anything. I wouldn't get you nice clothes. You would get what you got, and that's it. No extra if you want to act like that. I've had this talk with you before. So let's go. Let's get it done, okay? Let me tell you how this works. No, put your hands down. No. Now don't do it again, and sit down. If your mom wants to come up to the school and spank you, and we can watch, that's gonna happen. Do you understand me? Breathe and calm down.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't see anything wrong with it. That's how I came up. I went to schools where the teachers could discipline you. Of course, as a parent, you have to agree to that discipline. I don't know the full context of the situation, but what I heard was this little girl was breaking things that she didn't own. And just in that clip that I just heard, she said, I'll let your mom come up here and spank you too. And it sounds like from what I was hearing from the principal that she threatened to call the police on her parents. That's what it sounded like it said in the beginning. Did y'all hear that? Well, anyway,
Yeah, no, she
you
said
heard it or not.
she didn't mention her parents, but she said the police.
Yeah, she said, I wish you would try to call the police on me, which means it sounds like to me and me deciphering this that she threatened to call the police on her parents. This is how I came up. I don't see anything personally wrong with it as long as the parent knew and agreed to that discipline happening from somebody outside of her. If it didn't, then that's a whole nother conversation, but I don't see anything wrong with it.
I think she's a racist bitch. I think she's a cow. I think she's a horrible human being. The reason why this is so egregious for me is number one, the parent is the one who's actually taping it because she's an undocumented person, right? So I know what it's like when you're somebody who's undocumented and you feel like anybody could do anything to you, especially a white person in a position of power, and you can't fight back because all they have to do is call ICE and your whole family is being snatched. So that mother literally taped it as evidence because she knew that if she jumped in, they would call the police on her or get her deported. And she was scared. She was like, I at least want to have some evidence of the abuse that my child has. So number one, the parent didn't agree to it. Number two, the fact that they were undocumented was how they felt emboldened to do that in front of the parent, even though the parent didn't agree with it. And number three, I do think the fact that she knew that she had that power is why she was so froggy. If it was a little white child, I have a hard time believing that she would have yanked her up and slapped her like that. So I think to me, it was racist and egregious and abusive. It was an abuse of power. And what breaks my heart is now that it's gone viral, I'm concerned about retaliation against that family that is still undocumented. It was gross to me. Absolutely.
Now,
gross.
Well, let me say
real
this, 'cause
quick.
Damage's point was very well thought out, and I heard what you said in the midst of a heavy reaction that if the person gave permission or the mother's present, the mother gives permission, it is what it is. So it's sort of like it removes us from having an opinion per se if the mother gave permission. And then Blue, you're saying person's undocumented. Maybe she gave the permission out of fear, because I've worked with families when I used to be an assistant director of Parent Revolution, where we used to advocate for education reform for undocumented and non-English speaking families, that their fear of the system and the repercussions of trying to advocate within the system where they shouldn't be participating because they shouldn't be here. Not that they shouldn't, but they're not legally here. There is a certain level of fear. I will say, just looking at the video and thinking about, if I had a child, undocumented or not, don't touch my kid, period. Don't touch my kid, because the psychological damage of a child being beaten by people in general is something. And I feel like, especially as I get older, because when I was younger, we all have been told, go get a switch and get a whipping from our grandmother or a mother or, a family member, Damage and Blue. But for strangers, I'm just very particular about people putting their hands on other people's children. Now, like Damage said, in my family, if you go to my dad's house and you're in the family, you gonna get hands put on you if you up the good china or you do something crazy at your family's house. But again, that is a relationship. We are related. You go in your family's house, you know, if you go to grandma's house, you go to your Uncle Ricky house, you go to Pat's house, somebody could put hands on you at any moment if they're related to you. But now if you outside the family or even a family friend and you touch somebody, you're gonna get your ass beat by everybody in the family.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. It has to be agreed upon. I grew up like that. That's how I came up. Everybody, every school I went to, they had the option of disciplining me, and that's what my mom agreed to. And I didn't see anything wrong with it. For them to have a paddle at that school, because I got hit with a paddle when I was a kid. Someone had to somewhere at some point agree to it. There's no way this woman is walking around with this paddle in the principal office, and no one has ever called the police on them before. So, like Blue was saying, maybe this person has signed up to this agreement against their will and they didn't like it. I think that's more like it, but I highly doubt that a woman out of nowhere is walking around with a paddle and just beating every kid at the school, and no one knows.
I don't know,
That's
because
not
she was a white woman with blonde hair, and I'm sorry, Karens are walking around policing the world these days, Damage, where they do believe that their whiteness gives them a certain privilege to do whatever they want to do. So I don't know. I mean, in a perfect world, that would happen, but don't think that white folks ain't out here taking advantage of non-English speaking Mexican or Latino families or families that are non-documented Asians who are not documented and doing.
And I was that kid, guys, by the way, because when I came to this country, we had a thick Spanish accent. They used to call me a burnt Mexican because they didn't know what Afro-Latino was. And it's an abuse of power because a lot of schools.
When you came to this country, girl, where are you from?
I'm from Haiti and Cuba.
Oh,
I wasn't born here. Yeah, I'm an immigrant. I wasn't born here. I say this all the time.
I thought you was from over there on the block. I didn't know.
Yeah, I'm very much an immigrant, even though I've worked on my diction since then. But no, like when I came to this country,
if you'd have worked on your diction, you would know if that gay or not.
You know what? That's what she said. Jason, bring it back. No, when I came to this country, I was a little chocolate girl with a thick Spanish accent, and they used to do this to me where they would treat me differently from the other kids because they knew I was an immigrant, they knew I was undocumented, and they knew my family was scared about us being reported. And so just because you have the paddle, it doesn't mean that there was consent. It means that it's systemic abuses of power. There are people who are so used to abusing their power that they stay ready. So that and the little girl saying, I'll call the police, that could be a little girl who's scared for her life. And she's like, I'm going to call the police. And she's like, girl, if you call the police, they're going to take you and put you in a camp. Like, to me, I heard that very differently.
Let me say this. Maybe the parent did give permission. And let's say the parent was, like in Damage's situation where there was consent and there was not any fear of the system. What the parent didn't give you permission to do, Becky, was disrespect that little kid and belittle that little kid and chastise them verbally and verbally abuse them. I will tell you, I do remember people as a little kid. I remember the people who talked down to me, who told me I wasn't going to be nothing, who chastised me or who belittled me or tried to verbally embarrass me in front of other people. And and the idea of trying to make a kid shrink in a room that's already surrounded by adults, I think is unfair. That's some punk. So for that, Becky, somebody gonna catch you in a bush. Now, Damage, when you got beat by the teachers and spanked with the paddleboard, was there any effect or impact that experience had on you, or was it just a moment in time?
No, it gave me discipline because honestly, I will co-sign that for my son. I don't think there's anything wrong with that if it's in the right circumstances. I don't know what the circumstances of this is, but I can only speak on how I came up. I came up into Muslim schools, Islamic schools, where you had to be held accountable for certain things in your behavior. I never thought back at it and thought it was abuse. I thought it taught me structure, discipline, and made me the person I am today. I wasn't getting beat for no reason. So yeah, I would
wait. So you would let little Legend get beat by his teachers at school?
Well, not beat up. I would let him get disciplined by somebody that I gave the okay to discipline him. Yes, but you got to remember, Jason, it's different, and that's why I hear Blue's point, and I even hear your point. When you talk about family in Islam, we're all family. That's my brother. That's my sister. So
it's not a white lady with blonde hair. Yeah.
Exactly. But however, it is somebody that's not in my family, but there was still respect there. There's still overall community respect. I am always with the community disciplining a child. I don't think it should just be on one person. However, this situation could be drastically different, and I can't speak on that. My personal experience, I thought the discipline helped me grow to be a better person.
Well, an attorney for the family explains why the mother stood by and did nothing, claiming that the mother and the father are undocumented, as Blue said, and from Mexico, and that she was afraid of being deported if she reported the incident. So that does, add a different lens to it. And for that, I guess I would agree with Blue. Like, that's just a really unfortunate situation. And I'll say to people out there who are educators or, working in different fields where you encounter other people's kids, you may want to double think, even if you have permission to put your hands on somebody's kids, because if the mom gives you consent and the dad finds out about it, because if my baby mama or whoever my surrogate was or whatever, or my baby's daddy said that you can whoop our kid and I find out, I'm coming to the school and I'm slapping the shit out of you.